I've been wanting to make a film about the Pfizer 1.300 for a long time. This is one of the motorcycles that I really like. The motorcycle has been produced since 2001. As you can see, it has 1,300 cc, but a little less. There is always an overstatement, specifically 1,298 liquid cooling. As for the power and torque, 146 horsepower with 134 nanometers of torque. There is a slight difference. In 2013, the power decreased a little as well as the torque. I think this is due solely to European norms. The motorcycle is on a gimbal. The motorcycle excellent brakes, which are also equipped with an ABS system and a combined system. The acceleration to 100 is 3.2 seconds, maximum power around 250 kilometers per h. The tank is 25 liters, including a reserve 5 liters. And the most interesting thing is the weight of the motorcycle ranges from 275 to 295. I'll explain why there's such a significant difference in weight later on, but generally this is a typical representative of the so-called sport touring class, or as you may say, power sport tourists, because of its remarkable features. Let's discuss the advantages and disadvantages of this motorcycle. The first one being the negative point, its gearbox, which is quite loud. Many have pointed out that the first gear is exceptionally noisy, which arises from two rings found in between the clutches. When they wear out, the gearbox starts to crunch when you switch on the first gear. This can be fixed by just removing these two rings between the clutches. Some do this. Also, it might rattle on the exhaust due to the fact that there are 5 springs in the basket. A few of them are not tensioned and they emit noise. The distinctive sound of the basket and clutch is very familiar to me, for example, from the throw, because there was the same issue. There is a problem sometimes where the second gear flies out, but this is solely due to the fact that people imagine that this is not a sport tourist but a pure super sport, and they break this second gear themselves. Of course, the missing 6th gear since 2016 doesn't help. Before that, there were only 5 gears, but in general, the 5th gear is quite long, so there are no particularly big problems. With this, the second negative point, it is a subframe. But actually not only the subframe exactly where a person sits, but the subframe in the area of the case from vibration, from load, and the vibration of the roadway is natural. The subframe cracks, breaks, the case gets lost, it's a shame. Thus, there are all sorts of aftermarket triangles that are designed to strengthen this assembly. The third disadvantage is the twitching at low speed due to the fact that the motorcycle has greater cubic capacity. It has a lot of mass, a lot of inertia, and you have to be very careful about the throttle frequency so that they are always in frequency. Then in principle, everything will be fine. There will be no twitching. It will be also, again, you need to keep an eye on the gimbal. It basically does not require some kind of supernatural service. There's no problem with it. But initially, you need to see that everything is okay. Another cause of twitching can be improper installation. Balance shafts by marks, that is. If someone has disassembled something in the engine, it is very easy to waft the marks of the upper balance shaft. And the fourth minus, the last minus associated with the rear suspension, is the monoshock absorber. Its problem is that it has a bare stem, and you need to make some kind of cover, otherwise it quickly becomes unusable. It's a common problem, not that everyone has experienced it, but it's a common problem, so it's worth paying attention to. That's the downside, perhaps. That's it. Let's start with the pluses. Of course, there are more pluses here. And the first plus is reliability. Yes, in fact, the motorcycle is quite reliable. That's my favorite phrase. In fact, the motorcycle is quite reliable, but that's the way it is. It's a sport tourist, which in fact is created in order to overcome huge distances on not so small moves. So everything is in the reliability here. At 1,300 cubic meters, it's a very, very good groundwork in terms of reliability. Talking about the electrics, there are generally no issues except for the recent versions from 2013, where the electrics have gotten stronger and more complicated, and there is a kind of hobby among FJR owners. This is the search for mass, meaning if something isn't working for you, probably the mass fell off somewhere and you need to look for it. Overall, aside from that, this motorcycle doesn't cause any issues. The second plus is its engine. Yes, 1,298 centimeters, which provides around 144 horsepower. This is one of, let's say, the pride of this motorcycle, because it has in it, as I mentioned earlier, 2 balancing shafts. They allow the motorcycle to work remarkably quietly, without vibrations, without any unnecessary noises. Plus, it has liquid cooling, so in this regard, everything is fine with the motorcycle. I will also note the acceleration of 3.2 seconds to 100 kilometers per h. This is very good acceleration despite the weight. The third plus is the range. The motorcycle has excellent range. He can travel around 400 to 500 kilometers on one tank, and this is not related. Not only does the tank hold 25 liters, the motorcycle is exceptionally economical. If we maintain a cruising speed of 100 kilometers per hour, the fuel consumption is about 4 to 5 liters. A consumption of 4 to 5 liters for a 1,300 cubic centimeter machine is a very impressive figure for this sturdy retro moped. A fourth benefit is the wind protection. Basically, this motorcycle is built with tourism in mind, as a comfortable bike for intercontinental traveling, so to speak. Actually, the wind protection is rather adequate. The only shortcoming is a slight lack of insulation at high speeds, like 150, 160 there. Some people simply attach an additional spoiler strip to the windscreen, thereby solving this issue. Then again, there's an electrically adjustable windscreen, cruise control, 3 cases which were originally fitted onto it, an extensive electrical system, the ABS system, and a combined brake system. In some years after 2013, as far as I recall, the UCCS electronic clutch, I believe it was called, seemed quite decent. The handlebars looked very cool. Without a clutch lever, intriguing solution. The fifth, this is a comfortable fit. Yes, the motorcycle is extremely comfortable. It's essentially a straight fit with a significant minor tilt towards sportiness, but it's solely because the motorcycle goes faster and you just instinctively have to lean forward slightly anyway. And the sixth positive is the aftermarket. This motorcycle has been produced for about 17 years, since 2001. It has a vast quantity of possible tunes. Plus, this motorcycle is very popular in Europe, equal to its competitors. This is the GTR 1400. Kawasaki and Paneuropean 1300, as I mentioned, the motorcycle's weight changed, meaning initially 275. It's just completely empty from the first to the fifth year, then 282 kilograms from the third to the fifth, where the ABS system was added. 2006, the last 295 kilograms. This is the motorcycle's weight with an electronic clutch system. The average price of this motorcycle in our market hovers around 300,000 rubles. There you can even find it for 250,000. There overall it's $3,000. That's the average price of these motorcycles. Regarding this motorcycle, what can I say? It's an excellent sports tourer, which has really gained popularity among many. It was exported to Europe, the USA, even to the African market. A lot of police officers in Europe use the FJR 1300, and I can say that I personally would get it for myself if we had excellent roads. Sadly, there aren't many good ones in Russia, and you want to travel in different directions, but the FJR is a great motorcycle which allows you not to feel disadvantaged and allows you to travel very well with maximum comfort and not overspend on fuel, because quite surprisingly, with a large engine and impressively high performance, acceleration to 100 maximum speed and horsepower as a result, or rather as a cause and effect, it has a very low fuel consumption. If you really push it, you probably can get through 8 liters, but 6 is the average consumption on the highway. If you're just cruising, you can get to about 5 liters. Of course, if you're going 200, then the consumption will be considerable. But the motorcycle again, it's designed for traveling, in my opinion, one of the best motorcycles for traveling on good roads. Naturally, it has competitors about which we all know. As I mentioned, these are the Kawasaki 1400 GTR and the Honda Saint 1300 Pan-European, but in my opinion, I personally like the FJR of these 3 motorcycles the most. I hope you liked it. Don't forget to leave your likes, write what I said wrong or where I made a mistake, or maybe you have your own. The experience will be interesting to read. Also, I'll remind you that there's a link in the description for my group, in which you need to go to, subscribe, follow, leave comments, because it's very cool, fun, and sometimes I post some really ass-tearing comments there. Well, Cage was with you, bye-bye, and have a happy life.